You are listening to the Self Trust Solution Podcast with Dawn Leday, episode number 34. So today we're going to unpack the motivation dilemma. This is those moments when you don't want to and you do, or you do want to and you don't. This episode is great for anyone who's ever struggled with turning your intentions into actions. So if you found yourself not wanting to do something yet doing it, or wanting to do something but not following through, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about the intricate relationship between desire and motivation. What's behind this motivation dilemma? And we're going to uncover practical strategies to bridge the gap between what you want to do and what you actually do. Is self-trust holding you back? Visit me at theselftrustcoach.com and take the free self-trust quiz. Find out where self-trust may be holding you back and receive instant results along with what you can do in response. Take the free self-trust quiz at theselftrustcoach.com. Now on to the episode. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you really don't want to do something, but somehow you still manage to do it? And then other times you really want to get something done, but somehow, no matter what, you can't seem to manage to do it. It's a paradoxical situation, and oftentimes it can leave us scratching our heads. But what it does is it highlights the complex nature of motivation. And while it feels complex, it really can be summed up in two contradictory statements. The first, I want to do it. This reflects our initial desire to start a task or a particular decision we want to make based often on a desired result. The second is, I don't want to do it. And this reflects our often in the moment resistance or lack of desire to move forward on the task or making of the decision that we decided. Now, your flavor of I want to and I don't want to could be varied, and you'll just want to check in with that. But often it boils down to those two statements, which then leads to one of two, let's say, actions or movements. One, you do it, or two, you don't do it. Now, what's interesting here is whether you do it or not actually isn't correlated to whether you want to do it or whether you don't want to do it. Because sometimes we'll do it, whether it's because you stayed tethered to your initial desire, or you do it despite the in the moment reluctance. Either way, you find a way to muster the motivation and take action. Now, if you don't do it, it might be that you're postponing, you're delaying, or you're putting it off entirely, or postponing and delaying repeatedly. So it's sort of like putting it off entirely. But either way, you don't move forward and take action. And this can happen whether you wanted to do it or you don't want to do it. So, why does this happen, and how can we use this knowledge to improve our follow through? And the first way is for us to look at the psychology of motivation and noticing that motivation is not solely dependent on our desires. It really is a dynamic interplay of various factors. And I'm going to give you three. The first is the intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is what comes from within, just as it sounds. It's driven by personal values and interest. Maybe think of your why, your motive behind what you want to do, the motive that you want to create the action and motivation for. Extrinsic motivation, on the other side, is from external factors like rewards or recognition. Think, I want to do this so I can get a raise or so I can get the attention of someone, a client or a another company. You don't want to do something because if you do, you might disappoint someone, or you do something because you don't want to disappoint someone. So, those are kind of the extrinsic motivations. Some can work for us and some can work against us. Same with the intrinsic. It's, so, noticing that both of those factors, intrinsic and extrinsic, play a part in our motivation. The second factor is immediate versus delayed gratification. Sometimes we prioritize immediate pleasure over long term benefits. And other times we're willing to delay gratification for future rewards. And you can think about that as, maybe you planned on going for a run, but in the moment when you planned on going, you decide it'd be more satisfying in the moment to watch Netflix or sleep in. So you are prioritizing immediate pleasure over long term benefits. Now, if we look at where we're willing to delay gratification for future rewards, is when, for instance, if we're saving for retirement, we actually delay the gratification. We don't use the money now, we don't spend the money now so that we can reap future rewards of increased savings or a retirement package, or if we're saving for a trip or something of that nature. The third factor in motivation is our emotions and cognitive processes. So, our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs significantly influence our motivation levels. Negative emotions can actually hinder motivation, while positive ones can enhance it. Now, this isn't about thinking positive thoughts all the time, but it is shining a light on if we only give airtime to what could go wrong, which is what naturally our brains want to go to. We're wired to seek out risks, to look for danger. So, if that is where we're putting most of our focus is on what could go wrong, how it could not work, then we're generating more sort of negative thoughts and feelings that are less motivating. Whereas if we counteract that by at least giving equal airtime, if not more, to what could go right, why we want to do this, what could go maybe even better than we expect, because the truth is we don't know exactly. So only giving airtime to what could go wrong would make total sense that we would be less motivated. But if we give our brilliant brains that will create evidence for whatever we focus on, if we give it also time to think about what could go right, how it could go maybe better than expected, then we are generating more positive thoughts that will create more feelings of motivation. So, what are some strategies to navigate and create motivation? We can bridge the gap between not wanting to do something and finding the motivation to do it. So, here are 6 strategies to help you make that happen. The first is to set clear goals. Clearly define your goals and then break them down into smaller, manageable tasks. This not only makes the overall objective seem less overwhelming, it gives you checkpoints and milestones that you can get to, noting, do I need to make a shift here? Do I want to adjust something? And it gives you places to reward your actions. Number two is to find intrinsic motivation. Identify what aspects of the goal, of the manageable tasks, align with your personal values or interests. Focusing on these aspects can boost your intrinsic motivation. In other words, you're tapping into your motive to create the motivation for it. The third is to visualize success. This is imagining the positive outcomes of completing the task. Instead of just focusing on what could go wrong, which is our brain's natural tendency to do, if we make it a point to visualize how it could go right, maybe even better than expected, you are likely to connect more emotionally to your desired results and create more positive thoughts and feelings about it, creating more motivation. The fourth is to create external motivators. This is where we're setting up rewards for ourselves. So, part of setting those clear goals and breaking it down into manageable, smaller tasks is where we can also set up rewards at these various checkpoints and mile markers. And checkpoints are going to be, how are things working? Let's celebrate what we've done so far and evaluate, do we want to keep moving forward in this path, or there's some adjustments we need to make? Do we want to shift anything? And reward yourself for work done, not just results created. Remember to reward yourself for making decisions, for taking action, for noticing when things are going well or not going well, and not using those things against yourself, but instead rewarding yourself for creating awareness around it and making decisions to adjust accordingly. That is how you can create your own external motivators. The fifth is to build a routine. Establishing a consistent routine can reduce the reliance on motivation alone. Habits can carry you through tasks even when motivation is low. Number six is to practice self compassion. Be kind to yourself when motivation is low. Recognize that everyone faces moments of low motivation. And instead of criticizing and judging yourself, which is likely to create more negative emotions, creating more space actually between you and motivation, and instead practice self compassion, knowing that everyone experiences low motivation and that through those moments, if you take care of yourself, you're likely to be able to keep going and then generate more motivation for yourself much quicker. By understanding the complexity of our human motivation and the psychology behind this paradox, implementing effective strategies, you can actually bridge the gap between your intentions and actions. Remember that motivation is not always constant, but with the right tools and mindset, you can achieve your goals and follow through even when you don't want to. What will you take away from today's episode? My goal is for you to develop a deeper understanding of the intricate relationship between desire and motivation. Gain some insights into your own psychology behind the motivation dilemma and create practical strategies to bridge the gap between what you want to do and what you actually do. Remember that motivation is a complex interplay of intrinsic and extrinsic factors, emotions, and cognitive processes. That setting clear goals and finding intrinsic motivation and visualizing success can boost your motivation to act. Building routines and creating external motivators while practicing self compassion can help you overcome the motivation lows and follow through on your intentions. Thank you for joining me today on the Self Trust Solution Podcast. If you love this episode, don't forget to share it with your friends and family. And if you have any topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, email me at dawn@theselftrustcoach.com. Join us next week for episode number 35. Thanks for tuning in and have a trust-filled week. Hey, if you're ready to build unshakable self-trust to achieve your goals and make the impact you're being called to make in a way that feels amazing, join me in Coach for Life. Coach for Life is the coaching program to build self-trust and achieve your goals. Join now at theselftrustcoach.com/Coach for Life program. That's Coach, the number 4, Life program. See you inside.